Hi, everybody. So, happy Handmade Day. And today I thought that I would teach you how to make something handmade that could come in really handy right now. I hope you're all finding things to do while you're at home, but this is a little project that you can eat. So, let's get started. Remember, anytime that we cook, the first thing we want to do is wash our hands. So, I'm going to go over to my sink here, wash my hands. Ooh, that's hot. And give them a dry. Next, let's get our supplies. So we're going to need, very simple, this is a very simple thing. We're going to be making bread today. First, you want to get some water. I have filtered water here. Next, you will need flour. All-purpose flour is fine. And salt. And that's it. You're also going to need, here's my salt, a frying pan, because we're going to fry this bread. Now this is a flat bread, so it takes no rising. It's very quick and easy to make, and it's delicious. You're going to need, I'm going to move my computer down so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. You're going to want to use 2 parts flour to 1 part water. So that means you can use 2 cups of flour and 1 cup of water, 1 cup of flour and a half a cup of water. So use your math skills. Today I'm going to make a small batch, and I'm going to use 1 cup of flour. Put that in your bowl. Put in a sprinkling of salt, just a little bit, and then put in half a cup of water. Then you're going to want to use a fork to stir that up. This is the easiest bread recipe that you will ever make. And what's wonderful is it tastes good. Okay, so now you can see the dough is starting to come together, and you just want to keep stirring that up. And you might need to put just a little bit more flour in there. And you want to stir it until it starts to pull away from the bowl and form a neat ball. So you just keep adding a little bit of flour at a time until it starts to do that. See that? How it's pulling away from the bowl now, making a round ball. There you go. Now you can take it out of there and use your hands. And this is another reason why we want nice clean hands. Sprinkle some flour on your surface. And this is still a little sticky, so go ahead and just add a little bit more flour until it becomes like a nice soft dough, but it's not really sticky. There we go. This feels good too. It's so nice and soft. Okay, so now what we're going to want to do is knead this for about 5 minutes. And you want to do this because flour has gluten in it, and when you knead it, which I'm going to show you what knead means in just a second, it stretches the gluten fibers and makes a nice soft dough. So to knead something, you just kind of push it out and fold it over again, and push it. Fold it over again, and just keep doing that for about 5 minutes. So I'm going to ask Alexa to set a 5-minute timer for us, and I'm going to tell you a story while we knead our bread dough. Alexa, set a 5-minute timer. All right. So once upon a time, there was a little girl, and she loved really nice things. But she was the oldest of 7 children, and so her family couldn't afford a lot. She really loved all the beautiful dresses that she saw in the stores and the cakes and cookies and all of the things that her parents couldn't afford to buy. So she decided that even if they couldn't afford those things, she could still have them if she would learn to make things homemade. And she was really fortunate because a neighbor down the street worked at the shoe factory. And the shoe factory would throw away bolts and bolts of beautiful fabrics, leathers and suedes and velvets. And this is before she knew where leather came from, so we'll forgive her for that. And she went to the lady and asked the lady if she could have some of these things, and the lady was happy to give them to her. And she taught herself to sew. She didn't have a pattern because patterns also cost money, and if you don't know what a pattern is, it's a paper template that you use when you cut out fabric to make a dress or a pair of pants or something like that. So she took her old clothes and took them apart and used those as a template. And anyway, she made herself a beautiful pair of burgundy leather pants and a fringe vest, which was all the rage back then. This was in the 70s, and skirts and long skirts and all kinds of things. And when she went back to school that fall, she had a beautiful new wardrobe, but it was all handmade. And she was afraid that the kids in school might make fun of her. But instead, the kids in school loved her new clothes. So then she decided that if she could do clothes, maybe she could do other things too. And she taught herself how to bake and make those cakes that she saw in the windows and the pastries and the other things. And that little girl grew up to be me. And that's why I so love handmade things, because you can really get some nice things that you might not otherwise have without spending a bunch of money. And you also learn a lot of useful skills. Now, remember I told you about the leather? So now that I understand where leather comes from and everything, I don't use those things anymore, but I try to use natural fabrics. But I do still go to stores like Goodwill and places like that, because the fashion industry is one of the top polluters in the world. And you can find clothes there that you can take apart and remake into something that you love, or use the fabric for other things. You can also take the buttons and the zippers off of those clothes, and you will have what they call notions that you can use for making other things. Okay, so now you know a little bit about me, and our bread has been kneaded up. Let's ask Alexa how long it's been. Alexa, how much time do I have left?
You have 50 seconds left on your 12-minute timer.
Oh, I still have another minute. I'm just going to put a little bit more flour down here. And we'll just keep kneading our bread. So in the comments section, why don't you tell me about something special that you learned how to make? I know a lot of you have skills out there. I've seen some of the things. Okay, so that's been about a minute. And we're going to take our rolling pin. Well, first of all, wait a minute, get ahead of myself there. Take your bread, and we're going to divide it into balls, about pieces about the size of a golf ball. Alexa, stop. So a piece about that size. Roll it into a ball. And you should get about 4 or 5 balls out of this size. Out of this recipe that I'm doing with the 1 cup of flour and half a cup of water. So after you've done that, hold all your balls up. Take one of the balls, making sure you've got enough flour. Put it down and push it out into a circle. Now, go over to your frying pan because you want it nice and hot. Turn it up to a good high heat. And I'm going to show you the trick in a minute, how we'll know if that's hot enough. And just let it sit there. No oil, no butter, nothing like that. All you need is a non-stick frying pan. And you will need a spatula as well. Okay, so now let's go back to this, and we're going to take our bread and just pull it out a little bit, making a little circle. Then you take your rolling pin, and you're going to put a little bit of flour on that. And this is so the bread doesn't stick. The dough doesn't stick to the rolling pin or the counter. And just roll out. Roll your bread out. Turning it every couple of rolls by. And if it starts to stick, put a little bit more flour on your rolling pin. Now, these flatbreads can be used for all kinds of things. You could make pizza with this by putting a little bit of sauce and cheese on it, and I'll tell you when you would do that. But you would want to have everything ready off to the side. You can make cheese quesadillas. You can put butter and cinnamon sugar on there for a sweet treat, or jelly. Peanut butter and jelly. There's so many things that you can do with this. Okay, so you want it to be really nice and thin, just like that. This is what it'll look like. Cool, right? All right, let's check our pan. Easy way to check your pan to see if it's hot enough is just get a little bit of water on your hands and sprinkle it in the pan. If it sizzles, it's hot enough. And this pan is not sizzling yet. So we need to give it another minute or two. Oh, that could be why I forgot to plug it in. There we go. Let's give it another, another minute. While we're waiting for that, let's roll out another piece of dough. Okay. Just take that and put it off to the side so you can hear it. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but I can hear it starting to sizzle now. So just give it another minute while we roll out this piece of dough. So what kinds of other things has everybody been doing during this time? Have you gone back to school online yet? How have you been liking that? Love to hear from all of you. Can't wait to see you all back in church again soon. Okay, so now let's check our pan again. Get our fingers wet. Yeah, I don't think it's quite ready yet. It's still not quite sizzling. Okay. Give it another few seconds. And we'll just roll out another ball of dough. What are you going to put on your dough? Are you going to make a cheese quesadilla or a pizza? Or maybe you're going to put some cinnamon sugar on there and have a sweet treat. You can also use these almost like tortillas. Yeah. Tortilla shells. And make Use them for chicken fajitas or soft tacos. What are the other things? Oh, enchiladas. There we go. Check out pan again. There you go. I don't know if you can hear that or not, or see it. But you just, and the water bubbles. So that tells us it's hot enough. So take your bread, your dough, and put it in the pan. And just let it sit there for a minute or so. Get your spatula, because what's going to happen is the bread is going to start to puff up, and you're just going to push it down so that it's going to get nice and brown. I'm going to keep rolling out the dough while I'm waiting for that. So let's see how it's doing. There, I don't know if you can see that very good, but you'll see that it's just starting to cook. I'm going to flip it over on the other side. And I'm going to want it to get just a little bit of brown on there, not a lot. But now if you were making pizza or a quesadilla, this is the time when you would add your ingredients right on top of that, so that it's a little bit cooked and you're not going to have a raw dough there. You would put your sauce and your cheese or whatever it is you like on there. Flip it, this one over again. There, you can see how it's starting to get the little brown spots. And so you just do that until you get the bread nice and golden brown. And see how it's puffing up? Can you see that? That's what you want. You want it to puff up like that. Just push it down. That's creating a pocket inside. Isn't that cool? Can you see that? Yeah. Let's push that down until it gets nice and brown on the other side. And that's about it. We're going to taste test this in just a second. So I hope you had fun making homemade bread today. Post pictures of what you make. I really would love to see what everybody's doing. I'm going to take this out, put another piece in, and then I'm going to taste this. It's hot, so be careful. It's good just like this. It's delicious. Who would think that flour and water and salt could taste so good? There you go. Here I am with my bread smile. Have a great day, folks. See you tomorrow.